Is doing well. Today's target is to solve an illustration. Illustration is associated with the cash book, and we will make a cash book as we are making in this chapter. We have already some of the question related to cash book. Same pattern would be followed over here. What is given in the question, as you are looking at, is basically the number of transactions have been provided by the question. Or in practical work, whenever you will be working as an accountant in future, you will be provided transaction in raw data form. This is called raw data form. Just an English language has been used for a transaction. So since organization does not have any idea how to convert this raw data into usable information, that is why this data has been provided to an accountant, and accountant is responsible to convert this raw data into a usable information. And how would we do this? There will be two steps. First step, we will convert these transactions into journal entry, JOURNAL, journal. We will convert all of these transactions into journal entries, and when journal entries would be completed, we will convert journal into ledgers. When you will combine three different ledgers, that means ledger of cash, ledger of bank, and ledger of discount, in the same ledger, what you are doing, you are combining three different ledger into the same ledger. That ledger where all three ledgers are present is called cash book. I will show you what practically we are going to do. Here we have the place where we will enter our journal entries. All of the journal entries would be put over here, and then these journal entries would be posted into the cash book. As I have requested earlier, there are three different elements: discount, cash, and bank. Ledgers of these three elements are combined. As you can see, we have debit side, and on debit side there are three columns: discount, cash, and bank. And we have credit side and again we do have discount, cash, and bank on credit side. It means ledger of three elements are combined. When three elements are combined, it is called triple column cash book. So this is our target of today's lecture. We will make journal entries and will convert these journal entries by posting transaction into cash book. This way cash book would be made. All right. This was introduction of our working for today, and now you will see an overview what kind of transactions have been given over here. We have a month, May. All transactions are associated with single month, and normally account people do the same. First step first, that means we will read this transaction and will convert into journal entry. Very first entry we are related with is May 1. So you will put May 1 date over here. Journal entry, first journal entry you are doing. So here you will mention the date, which is 1. And what we are doing on May 1 is, he is just mentioning that we do have cash. This is cash in hand. What does that mean? You are not paying this cash to anyone. You are not receiving this cash from anyone. Cash is not going out. Cash is not coming in. Just he is informing that we have cash. If you have cash in hand, that is a favorable thing for you. Cash is your asset. When asset is in hand, it is in favorable position, which means when asset is in favorable position, it should be mentioned on debit side. You will mention cash on debit side. Second thing is, as it has been described, cash is not going out. Cash is not coming in. You are not paying cash. You are not receiving cash. It is just the balance. So you will write the word balance as a reference on credit side. How much cash? That is 40,000 amount is mentioned over here. So you will write 40,000 over here, and same amount you are going to post on credit side. So in this way, first entry has been completed. That was 1. Now what is next entry? Again it's 1, so what we will do, we will write 1a 1a in first entry, and now second would be 1b, so that it can be separated and distinguished. Second entry on May 1 is saying that you have cash at bank. Same concept as you have used in May 1 first entry. Cash at bank means you have some amount in your bank and amount is not going out, amount is not coming in, you are not depositing any amount, you are not going to withdraw any amount, just amount is present in your bank account. Bank account is your asset. If amount is present in bank account, that means your asset is in favorable position, and when you have an asset it should be written on debit side, so you will mention name of bank on debit side. Since earlier we have described that amount you are not depositing or amount is not going to be withdrawn from the bank account, it's just the balance which is present in the bank account, so you will mention the word balance on credit side. This way you have completed your second entry. Let's see how much amount is present in your bank account, and that is 30,000. So you will write 30,000 over here on debit side, and same amount would be posted on credit side. Second entry is completed, that was 1b. And now let's see what is next for us. It is May 3, and what you are doing, goods sold for cash. You are selling your goods for cash. It means goods are going out. Goods are your near asset. You were supposed to write over here on credit side, you were supposed to write goods. Why? Because goods are going out, goods are your near asset, asset is decreasing, decrease in asset should be credited, so you were supposed to write goods over here. On the same time, you know that we do not write goods in accounting. In place of goods we write working, and what working we are doing, we are selling goods, so you will mention name of sales over here. Goods now is unnecessary to be written over here, it was just a reference, you can raise it. You have sold goods, and what you will receive by selling your goods, here it has been mentioned you are selling your goods for cash, it means cash is coming in. When you will receive cash, it means your cash in hand is increasing. Cash in hand is your asset, mean asset is increasing. Increase in asset should be debited, so you will debit cash on debit side. What was its date? It was May 3, so you will mention date over here. And secondly, May 3's amount, let's check it out. Third amount, and that is 9,000, so you will write 9,000 on debit side, and same amount you will be posting on your credit side. This way entry number 3 is completed. Let's see what is coming up for us, and that is May 5, goods bought for cash. In May 3 you were selling your goods, and now you are buying your goods. When you will buy goods, it means goods are coming in, goods are your near asset, so you were supposed to write goods on debit side because asset is increasing. Goods are your near asset, asset is increasing. Why I'm calling it near asset? It's a separate explanation. Sometime in future we will take and we will explain why goods are near assets. So asset is increasing, increase in asset should be debited. You were supposed to write goods on debit side, but you do know that we do not write goods in accounting. In place of goods we write working, and what working we are doing, we are purchasing, so you will mention purchase on debit side. Goods is now unnecessary to be written over here, it was just a reference, you can erase it. So you have bought goods for what? For cash. Bought goods for cash. When you will buy good, it means your cash will be going out, cash in hand would be decreasing, decrease in cash mean decrease in asset, decrease in asset should be credited, so you will mention cash on credit side. What was the date of this entry? It was 5, so you will mention here date 5, how much amount, goods bought for cash, that was 18,000, so you will mention 18,000 over here, and same amount you are going to post on your credit side. So this way entry number 5 is completed. Let's see what is next for us. It is now May 8, a little lengthy entry. May 8, received a check from Farooq itne ka in full settlement of his dues and deposited the same into the bank. Okay, read again. Received a check from Farooq is name, 19,300 in full settlement of his dues. Full settlement was 19,600. And third step is what? You had deposited the same check into the bank. You can make two entries or you can make single entry. Whatever you do like, you can do it. We will do both options. So after writing down both options, you will decide which option is useful or easy for you. You will choose that. We will do it step by step. First step is you have received a check from Farooq. Since in first step you have just received the check and you haven't deposited the check immediately into the bank account, so what you will do, you will say we have received check is your near asset is increasing, increase in asset should be debited, so you were supposed to write check over here. But in accounting, again, we do not write check. In place of check, we will consider that check as cash but temporarily, because we haven't deposited that check till this time. So you have received a check. From whom you have received that check? The person's name is Farooq, as it has been written over here. You have received check from Farooq. Why you have received check from Farooq? Because he was your account receivable and you were supposed to receive any amount from him. So he was your account receivable, and now since you have received the amount, he is no more your account receivable, no more your asset is decreased. Decrease in asset should be mentioned on credit side, so you will write the name of Farooq, who was your account receivable, and you are writing it on your credit side. Repeat it in your mind why you have written his name on credit side. I'm repeating it. He was your account receivable. You have now received cash, no matter it is in shape of cash or in shape of check, but you have received. It means he is no more your account receivable and no more your asset has been decreased. Decrease in asset should be credited, so you have mentioned name of Farooq on credit side. But there was something else as well. Here is our entry. What it is saying, that check you have received is for 19,300. so initially we will write amount of 19,300 in front of check, which temporarily we have considered as cash, 19,300. Okay, but full settlement, actually we were supposed to receive full settlement. Actual amount was 19,600, which you were about to receive from Farooq. So you will write 19,600 over here. According to accounting rules, debit and credit side should always be equal. But what our question is saying, you have received a check of rupees 19,300 while full settlement or original amount which was receivable was 19,600. So there is a difference of 300 where it had gone. Whenever he is saying in full settlement, it means settlement has been made. Instead of paying 19,600, you will receive only 19,300. That means you have allowed to leave 300 rupees. When you are allowing someone to pay less, it is called discount, and since you are permitting it, that is why it would be called discount allowed. And how much discount allowed is, you can see that total amount was 19,600. You have paid 19,300. Difference is 300. You will consider it as discount. Hopefully you people have understood. This is our first part of entry number 8. We should have mentioned date at the very first step. This is first step of the entry. Now what is second step? That is deposited the same into the bank. You have received this check, and now what you are doing, you are giving this check, That means check is going out. Where? Into the bank. So when this check is going out, at the time when you have received, you have debited, and now this check is going out. This check was your asset. Asset is going out, mean asset is decreasing. Decreasing asset should be credited. So you were supposed to write check on credit side, but as usual in accounting we do not write check. Instead of check, we will temporarily consider it as a cash. So just like check, we will assume that cash is going out. Cash is going out. We have mentioned it on credit side where it had gone. Since we have deposited into the bank, it means amount in bank would be increased after encashing check. Amount in bank increasing means increase in asset. Increase in asset should be debited. So you will write bank on debit side. You will mention bank on debit side. Why? Bank is your asset and asset is increasing. So this is your second step which we have done. And now what I had said, you can make it single entry as well. You will name it as part A of the entry, and second portion you can name it as part B of 8th entry. And now I will just demonstrate. If you want to make single entry, you can do it. And how you will make it? Here I'm giving you an example. Now first you have received the check and you haven't kept it with yourself. After few hours or after a short period of time, you have deposited that check into the bank. So ultimate conclusion is what? You have deposited that check into the bank. It means there would be an increase in your bank account. Increase in bank account mean increase in asset. Increase in asset should be mentioned on debit side. So you will mention name of bank on debit side. From whom you have received this check? The person is Farooq. Farooq was the person from whom amount was receivable. Now you have received. Either it's cash or check, that is a secondary thing, but you have received amount from Farooq. It means he is no more your account receivable, no more your asset. Asset has been decreased. Decrease in asset should be mentioned on credit side. So you will mention name of Farooq, who was your account receivable on credit side, because he is no more your account receivable. No more asset. Asset decrease. Decrease in asset should be credited. The check which is deposited into the bank, amount of that check was 19,300. So you will mention that bank account would be increased by 19,300, while full settlement was different. As we have earlier mentioned it, full settlement was 19,600. So you will write 19,600 in front of Farooq, because actual amount which was receivable from Farooq was 19,600. Accounting principle, what is that? Debit credit would always be equal. Here debit credit is not equal. Why? Because full settlement was 19,600. So we have permitted to Farooq to pay less. As we are permitting him to pay less, that means we have given permission, we allowed him to pay less. When you will allow someone to pay less, it means you are providing him discount, and that discount is allowed. Allowed discount would be an expense, and expense places debits. That is why you are writing discount on debit side. How much discount? 19,600 was full amount. 19,600 was full amount, while he had paid 19,300 only. In this way you can calculate. When we will subtract both, the difference is discount. So that this is the second option which you will make. First option was make first journal entry and then second entry. First you were just receiving and then you have deposited. Or you can make single entry where you will receive and deposit at the same time, and you will mention bank account instead of cash. So it's up to you, whatever option you will choose, whatever the way you want to do this entry, you can do it. For the timing, only one option will be used. So what I will do, I will erase second option. You can take screenshot over here so that later on you can make a comparison how you will do if you want to make two entries. These are two entries, or you can make a single entry. Take screenshot. Okay, hopefully you have taken the screenshot. Now this extra entry is not needed because only one option can be adopted to do these entries, so we will clear it. Okay, 8B has been completed. Now let's see what is next for us. After 8 we have 11. We will mention date 11 over here. Okay, let's see what is happening. Paid to Zulfikar. Zulfikar is a name. Paid to Zulfikar cash and check in full settlement of his dues 20,000. Okay, now combine entry is also possible and separate entry is also possible. Paid Zulfikar cash and check in full settlement of his dues. Now we will try to make it combine. First entry we had made separate. We had divided 8 entry into 2 parts, and now we will make a practice to make a single entry instead of 2 different entries. But you have a choice, you can make it 2 entries. Here we have 11th entry, paid Zulfikar cash. Okay, and first we will, at first step we will do paid Zulfikar as cash. When you are paying cash, what would happen? Your cash in hand would be decreased. If cash in hand is decreasing, mean your asset is decreasing. Asset decrease should be mentioned on credit side. You have paid cash, so you will mention cash over here. On credit side, why? Your cash is decreasing. To whom you have paid this cash? The person is Zulfikar. Z. The person name is Zulfikar. Zulfikar was the person from to whom amount was payable, and since now you have paid the amount, he was your account payable liability. But now you have paid him in shape of cash, your liability has been decreased. It means he is no more your account payable, no more your liability. Liability has been decreased. Decrease in liability should be mentioned on debit side, so you will name Zulfikar on debit side. He was your account payable. I'm using the word was. He was your account payable, but now he is no more your account payable. Liability decrease. Decrease in liability should be mentioned on debit side. So half payment is made in cash, and remaining half, if they are saying, and the word is used, and a check of rupees 9400. 9400 is the amount of check. When you will pay someone in shape of check, you have paid Zulfikar a check. Where he will go? He will take this check and will present that check to your bank account and will withdraw amount from your bank account. So amount present in your bank would be decreased. Decrease in bank means decrease in asset. Decrease in asset should be credited, so you will mention name of bank on credit side. So there were two aspects of this entry. We have paid to Zulfikar step 1 in shape of cash and in shape of check. How much cash has been paid? We will mention first. Alright, paid Zulfikar cash of 10,000. So you will mention 10,000 in front of cash. Alright, and then what had happened? And a check of rupees, second amount is check 9400, so you will mention 9400 in front of bank. And how much total amount was? Here he is mentioning that full settlement, a word is being used, full settlement of his dues was 20,000. That means total amount you were liable to pay was 20,000, and you were supposed to pay Zulfikar 20,000. It was your liability. Now what is happening? Instead of payment of 20,000, they are paying 10,000 and 9,400. Accounting principle, that simple principle says that debit and credit side would always be equal. Now here what is happening, on debit side there is 20,000, on credit side we have 19,400. Amount 1 10,000, amount 2 9,400. So these amounts are not equalized. Debit side is different and credit side is different. How is it possible? It means we were liable to pay 20,000 in full settlement. Means Zulfikar has allowed us to pay less. It means it is in our benefit to pay less. What does that mean? If he is permitting us to pay less, so we are receiving some benefit. Receiving some benefit means we are receiving discount. Discount receive is your income. Income should be mentioned on credit side, so you are mentioning your discount on credit side. It would be considered as discount received. How much amount? That amount is not mentioned in the book. So how much of discount is? It's simply the difference between debit and credit would be the amount of discount. On debit side, 20,000 has been written. You will subtract amounts present on credit side, which is 10,000, and you will subtract second amount as well. So you will get 600. In this way, now amount on credit side is 20,000, amount on debit side is 20,000. Account has been settled down. Both sides, debit and credit, is now equalized. This was your entry number 11. Please take a little break, pause the lecture over here, and do not shut off the screen. Look at the entry, look at the question again, and try to solve it again and again, 2 to 3 times, so that you can understand it well. Simple briefing is what you have paid Zulfikar. Zulfikar was the person who was your to whom amount was payable. He was your account payable. When you have paid, it means your liability has been decreased. He is no more your account payable, no more your liability. Liability decrease. Decrease in liability should be mentioned on debit side. So you have mentioned Zulfikar on debit side. How you have decreased your liability? Half part of the payment was paid in cash. So you have mentioned cash on credit side, as your cash in hand is decreasing, and remaining amount you have paid in shape of check. When you will issue check, it means Zulfikar will present that check to our bank account. Our bank account, when he will show to our bank account, he will withdraw amount from the bank. Amount present in bank account would be decreased. So bank as an asset would be decreased. Decrease in asset should be credited. So you have mentioned bank on credit side. And after completing this entry, we came to know that debit and credit side is not equal. So Zulfikar permitted us to pay less. When he is permitting, it means we are receiving this benefit. Receiving benefit means we have received a discount. Discount received is income. Income should be mentioned on credit side, and we have written discount on credit side. How amount has been calculated? Difference of debit and credit is to be considered as discount, or difference of total amount and amount paid is discount. So you have calculated that discount and mentioned on credit side. This way entry number 11 has been completed. And now let's see what is entry number 15 saying. Cash received from Kaleem. Kaleem again is a name. 9,800 in full settlement of his dues 10,000. Again the same thing is coming in. You are receiving cash. Entry number, first we should mention the date, that is 15. So you have received cash from Kaleem. You have received cash from Kaleem. When you are receiving, it means cash in hand is increasing. Cash in hand is your asset. When you are receiving cash, cash in hand is increasing. Increase in cash means increase in asset. Increase in asset should be debited. So you will mention name of cash on debit side. From whom you are receiving this cash? The person name is Kaleem. Kaleem was the person from whom amount was amount was receivable. Now you have received the amount, no matter in shape of cash or check. Now in this entry, we have received cash from Kaleem. Kaleem was account receivable. After receiving cash from him, he is no more your account receivable, no more your asset. Asset is decreased. Decrease in asset should be credited. So you will mention name of Kaleem on credit side. He was your account receivable. Account receivable are asset. Kaleem was supposed to be written on debit side as an asset, but after receiving the amount, he is no more your asset, no more your account receivable. Decrease in asset should be mentioned on credit side. So we have mentioned Kaleem's name on credit side. Now the matter is related to the amount. You have received cash for 9,800. So mention 9,800 in front of cash. And secondly, what was total amount which was receivable from Kaleem? The total amount was 10,000. It means amount receivable from Kaleem was 10,000. You will mention 10,000 in front of Kaleem. This was total amount which was receivable from Kaleem. When we will apply accounting principle, we can see that debit and credit side is not equal. What does that mean? Total amount receivable was 10,000 and we are the person. who permitted Kaleem to pay less. So we are receiving less amount. That means we had permitted Kaleem to pay less. When you are permitting to receive, when you are permitting Kaleem to pay less, it means you will receive less. This is your loss. This is your expense. And yet, when you have permitted to receive less, it means you are allowing him discount, and you can mention over debit side. Why? Because it is your expense to let your account receivable to pay less. So you will receive less, it would be your expense. Expenses should be mentioned on debit side, so you have mentioned discount on debit side, but amount of discount is not mentioned in the question. Amount of discount is not given in the question. How you will calculate? Total amount was 10,000 and you have permitted Kaleem to pay less. You received 9,800 only. How much less amount you have received? You can calculate it by subtracting amount received from total amount. Total amount was 10,000 and you will subtract amount received, which was 9,800. So 200 is the discount which you have indirectly calculated. It was not mentioned in the question. So here you have your entry where you have received cash, asset, debit, received from Kaleem who was account receivable, no more account receivable, asset decrease, decrease in asset credit. Amount of debit credit was not equal. You indirectly came to know that there was a discount because full settlement was more than that of amount received. Difference of these amount would be considered as discount, and since you are receiving cash, so we are receiving the cash, we will allow our account receivable for the discount, which would be expense for us. Expenses are mentioned on debit side, so you had mentioned discount on debit side. In this way, entry number 15 is completed. Now let's see what is next for us. After 15 we have 17, and 17 entry is saying paid cash to Adnan in full settlement of his dues of 4,000. You have paid cash to discount. When you are paying, it means cash in hand is decreasing. Cash in hand is your asset. Asset is decreasing. Decrease in asset should be mentioned on credit side. So you will mention name of cash on credit side. Why? Because you have seen that we are paying cash to Adnan. Entry number was 17. We should have mentioned date first. Why it skips every time? Entry number 17 saying you have paid cash to Adnan. When you will pay cash, cash is going out, cash in hand is decreasing. Decrease in cash mean decrease in asset. Asset is decreased, it should be mentioned on credit side. So you have mentioned cash on credit side. To whom you have paid this cash? The person name is Adnan. Adnan was the person to whom amount was payable. He was your account payable. Since you have paid now, he is no more your account payable, no more your liability. Liability has been decreased. Decrease in liability should be mentioned on debit side. So you will mention name of Adnan on debit side, though he was your account payable, and account payable is liability. Liability originally be written on credit side, but after paying him cash, your liability has been decreased. Decrease in liability should be mentioned on debit side. So you have mentioned the name of Adnan on debit side. Now let's see what amounts are mentioned over here. Paid cash to Adnan 3900. So actual amount of cash which has been paid is 3900. So you will mention 3900 in front of cash. All right. And what was full settlement? He is saying that full settlement was 4,000. Entry number 17, and full settlement is 4,000. So total amount which was, one second, which was payable, total amount which was payable was 4,000. So this full settlement 4,000 would be written in front of Adnan because you were liable to pay 4,000 to him. Okay, now you can understand that total amount you were liable to pay to Adnan was 4,000, but you have paid only 3,900. Why you have paid less? Because Your account payable had permitted us. He permitted to pay less. That means it is in our benefit. He is permitting, then we are receiving what amount which is less than that of original amount is to be considered as discount. Since we have received, when you are receiving discount, it means it's your income should be mentioned on credit side, so you will mention discount on your credit side with an additional word of 2. Okay, and how much discount, that has not been given, but indirectly we can understand, as debit and credit would always be equal, credit side is less. How much less? You will calculate the difference of these two amounts. Total amount you were liable to pay was 4,000 and you have paid only 3,900. It means the difference is skipped by your account payable. He permitted and you have received, and how much you have received the discount is 100, the difference between the two amounts. In this way, entry number 17 is completed. You can close it by putting a line. Let's see what next entry is saying to us. Entry number 20. So we are doing entry number 20. Let's mention date first. The good thing is to mention date first. 20 is saying receive a check from Asif. It's a name again. In full settlement of his dues 8,000. We are reading over here. 8,000 full settlement, and what you have done, you have received a check from Asim. At first step, we will generalize received a check from Asim. When you are receiving check, it means check is coming in, check is your near asset is increasing. Increase in asset should be mentioned on debit side, so you were supposed to write check over here as you have received. But in accounting we do not write check. In place of check, you will temporarily consider that check as your cash. Actually it's not cash, but since you haven't deposited that check into the bank, you cannot write bank. So for the time being, you will consider this check as a cash. This check, what we have written over here, is just a referral. You may write or you may not write over here. Okay, you can write or you may not write. So the name of check is just a referral, so we have written it, or you can erase it as well. You have received this check from whom? Entry number 20 we are doing, and you have received a check from Asim. Asim was the person who was from whom amount was receivable, and you have now received the check from Asim. No matter in what shape, cash or check, you have received check from your account receivable. He is no more your account receivable after receiving amount from him. No more account receivable mean no more asset decrease in asset should be credited. So you will mention the name of Asim on credit side. They were, what I'm using the word were, they were your account receivable. Now after receiving the amount, they are not your account receivable. No more asset decrease in asset should be mentioned on credit side. So you have mentioned name of Asim on credit side. Now let's see what amounts they are saying. Full settlement was 8,000. Full settlement was 8,000, while you have received a check of rupees 7,800. So you will mention 7,800 in front of check, because it is the amount which is written on the check, 7,800, while the amount which was actually receivable was full settlement. 8,000 was the amount which was actually receivable from Asim. So you will write 8,000 in front of Asim. When you will apply accounting principle, you can see that debit and credit sides are not equal. Why? Because total amount receivable was 8,000, and you, the person who permitted Asim to pay less, that means you are permitting. Means you are permitting someone to pay less. It means you will receive less. It is your expense. When you are allowing someone to pay less, it means you are allowing discount for the payment. Since you are permitting, you will write discount allowed over here. Discount allowed is an expense. Expense should be mentioned on debit side. That is why you have written discount on debit side. It is discount allowed, but amount is not given in the question. How would you calculate? You will apply a very simple accounting principle: debit and credit. Debit and credit side should always be equal, but Here debit and credit is not equal. So how you would calculate the amount of discount? Total amount which was receivable and was 8,000, and you have received only 7,800. How much less amount you are receiving? How you would calculate it? You will subtract amount received from total amount. Total amount was 8,000 and amount received was 7,800. You will subtract and will get the amount of discount. In this way you will calculate amounts present on debit side and amount present on credit side. Both are equal. Entry is completed. Entry number was 20. Let's see what is next for us after 20. It is 23. Asim Tufail's check endorsed to a creditor Akif. Okay, you have received recently a check from Asim and you have endorsed this check, Asim Tufail's check, to a creditor Akif. Okay, now see over here. You have received a check from Asim. Just recently you have received from Asim. Asim Tufail is actual name, so you may mention Tufail as well. Just T I have written. So you have received a check from Asim, and now you had endorsed or transferred the possession of this check to someone else. When you have received this check, you have written on debit side, and now the same check is going out. When this check is going out, it means there is decrease in checks present in your possession. Checks are your near asset. When you are giving this check to someone, your asset is decreasing. Asset decrease should be mentioned on credit side, so you will mention check on credit side. But in accounting, as you know, we do not write check. In place of check, you will just consider it as cash. As you know, check has not been deposited into the bank yet, so you will not mention the name of bank over here. You are not issuing this check. The check which you have already received from your account receivable, you have just transferred the possession of this check to someone else. So here check is written but check is just referral. You may write name of check over here or you may not write, it's up to you. So cash in shape of check you have received, and same check has gone somewhere else. Now let's see to whom you have paid this check. Look at this. Asim Tufail's check is endorsed to a creditor Akif. So Akif was creditor. Akif was the person to whom amount was payable. Instead of paying him cash, you have transferred this check to Akif. No matter in what shape, cash, check, endorsed check, or net amount, as you will pay, it means your liability to pay has been decreased. Akif was your liability. When you have paid, liability decreased. Decrease in liability should be mentioned on debit side, so you will name Akif on debit side as he was. I'm using the word was. He was your account payable, but after payment he is no more your liability. Liability decreased. Decrease in liability should be mentioned on debit side, so you have mentioned name of Akif on debit side. How much amount was of check? You have seen the amount was 7,800, so you can easily mention amount of check in front of check without even reading the book, because same check has been endorsed to Akif, so amount of check would not be changed, 7,800. Let's see what happens next. In full settlement is now 8,000. We are doing entry number 20. Entry number 23 it is. Entry number 23. Date was supposed to be mentioned on first step, but we are skipping it. That's not good thing. So you have endorsed this check of rupees 7,800 to Akif. Entry number 23. Let's see how was the full settlement. How much was the full settlement? And that was 8,100. 8,100 full settlement, which was receivable, which was payable to Akif. So what you will do, you will write 8,100 in front of Akif. Akif was your account payable. You were supposed to pay him 8,100. How would we know? Since it has been mentioned in the book that total amount or full settlement means total amount you were liable to pay was 8,100. So your liability was 8,100. That is why you have mentioned 8,100 in front of Akif. When you will apply accounting principle, you can see that your debit and credit side is not equal, and it should be equal. What had happened? Total liability, our total liability was 8100, while we had paid only 7800. It means our account payable permitted us, they have allowed us to pay less. When we are paying less, it means it is in our benefit, it is our income. Income should be written on credit side. So we are enjoying a discount. And which discount it is? Discount received, you will mention over here. How it is discount received? Because our creditor permitted us to pay less. So we will enjoy this discount. It is our income. Income should be mentioned on credit side. So we have mentioned discount on credit side. But since amount has not been mentioned, how much discount we have received? It is simple thing. What was total amount? 8100. We had paid less amount, 7800. The difference would be your discount. Total amount was 8100 and you have paid only 7800. This way your discount is 300. Now you can calculate debit and credit side are also equalized. Here you have completed your entry number 23. And now let's see what next entry is saying to us after 23. This is entry number 25. We will mention date first, as it is a necessary part of the question to mention date on first step. 25 saying bank credited interest. It's very beautiful entry. It's very skillful entry to understand. Bank credited us in the name of interest. Now you do understand, if there are two parties and they are making transaction, both will write their names on the opposite side. How? When you are paying cash to someone, what other person is doing? He is receiving cash. So consider it, when two persons are making a transaction, they will record in exactly opposite direction. How? If you will pay cash, that means cash is going out from you. And the person to whom you are paying cash, he is receiving cash. You are paying cash, he is receiving cash. In the same manner, when you are making transaction with the bank, whatever bank will do, you will do exactly opposite. If bank has credited your name, so what you will do? You will debited your name. Bank, if written your name on credit side, that means he is paying you. He is liable to pay the amount. He had paid your amount. And what you have done? You have received the amount. When he is credited your account, you will debited bank's name. When you will debit bank's name, it means there is some increase in bank account. Increase in bank account mean increase in asset. Increase in asset should be mentioned on debit side. So you will name bank on debit side. For what purpose he has credited? That is your interest. It means it is your income. If bank had credited your account, that means some amount has been deposited in your bank account in the name of interest. When your amount is increasing in your bank account, it means it's your income. Income should be mentioned on credit side. So you are mentioning name of interest on credit side. Keep it clear. Now one thing I also would like to mention, interest can be expense and can be income until and unless it has been mentioned. Now please take good attention of this. If you are giving interest, it is your expense. If you are receiving interest, it would be your income. How we have understood it? Since bank credited our name in his book, in bank's book we are credited, so what we will do, we will debit bank name in our books. Bank name is debited means there is an increase in bank account, so it means it is favorable, it is our income. That is why interest is written on income side. Let's see how much interest. May 25, it is 1000, so you will mention 1000 on debit side and same amount would be written on credit side. Okay, in this way you have completed your entry number 25. And now let's see what entry number after 25 we have 31. Entry number 31 is saying what? Bank debited bank charges. Again the same principle we will use. If bank is debited our name, so we will credit bank's name in our book. If bank had debited our name, what we will do? We will credit the name of bank in our books and we will write bank on credit side. Understood? Here he had credited his name, we had debited in place in return the name of bank, and now what is happening? Debiting he is debiting our name, and now he had also explained that these are bank charges. He's explaining bank charges is clearly your expenses should be mentioned on debit side, so you will mention bank charges. Is it bank charges? Yes, bank charges expenses should be mentioned on debit side, so you have mentioned the name of bank charges on debit side. How much amount of bank charges is 1400, so you will mention 1400 on debit side and 1400 on credit side. Date of this entry was 31, so you will mention 31 over here. Alright G, total entries were up till 31 and we have completed all the journal entries from May 1 to 31. Now look at this. These many journal entries step by step we have completed. All of the journal entries are now completed. This, just consider it part A of this illustration we have completed. And now next step is to make cash book, and we will take a short break. Within next part of this question we will solve for cash book. All transactions present in our journal would be posted in the cash book. For the time being, please permit me, we will meet after a short break. Thank you very much.